Okay, so today we're going to talk about something you probably never thought you'd hear in the same sentence. Credit reports and godly trust. Yeah, you heard that right. And the source for this whole explainer, it's not some high finance journal. It's actually a 6th grade math lesson, and it kicks off with a really, really big question.
And it all starts right here. Why do so many smart, educated people make just destructive choices? I mean, we've all seen it, right? People who have it all on paper, but their lives just kind of fall apart. So if being smart isn't the answer, what are we missing?
Well, the curriculum we're looking at has a pretty blunt diagnosis. It says education without morality will hurt. The idea here isn't just that it's useless, it's that it can actually be dangerous. And that single idea, it's the bedrock for their whole way of teaching.
So according to this curriculum, this is the root of the problem. Our education system is great at making people clever, but not so great at making them wise. The argument is that when you separate knowledge from, a moral framework, you end up with people who are incredibly skilled, but they don't have the character to use those skills for good. And that, they say, leads to a world full of smart people making really bad decisions.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, this curriculum, which is called the Godly Learner Series, isn't just shooting for good grades. It's aiming for something much bigger, cultivating wisdom that leads to a life of peace and integrity.
And their whole philosophy really seems to be built on this one verse from the Bible, Romans 8:6. To be spiritually minded is life and peace. So the core belief is that having a mind that's tuned into these spiritual principles is what actually gives you a stable, meaningful life, instead of one that's just full of chaos.
And here's how they put that philosophy into practice. It's not about having a separate Bible class over here and a math class over there. Nope. The goal is to weave it all together. They want to promote biblical morality inside the academic subjects themselves and really train students to build lives that are grounded in integrity.
Now, that all sounds good in theory, right? But what does it actually look like in a real classroom? Well, let's dive into this really fascinating example from a 6th grade math lesson, and it's on a topic that pretty much all of us have to deal with: credit reports.
This is just such a brilliant way to teach this. Instead of some dry, boring definition, the lesson calls a credit report a financial report card. I mean, how simple is that? You get it instantly. Just like your school report card shows your habits in the classroom, this one shows your habits with borrowed money. It's basically a report card on how trustworthy you are with finances.
So what's actually on this financial report card? Well, it's pretty much what you'd expect. You've got your credit accounts, loans, credit cards. You've got your payment history. Were you on time or were you late? It shows the total amount you owe, how long you've been using credit, and, of course, any of those big red flags like missed payments. It's a complete snapshot of your financial behavior.
And this is where the lesson really makes that connection crystal clear. Think about it. A good report card at school builds trust with your teachers. A good financial report card, it does the exact same thing, but with lenders or landlords or even some employers. The principle underneath it all is exactly the same. Your actions, recorded over time, are what build your reputation. To bring this down to a 6th grader's level, the lesson uses this super simple example. Let's say you borrow $50 from your parents for a school project. You promise to pay it back on time, and you do. That one little thing, that's a positive mark on your record. It's a small piece of evidence that shows, hey, this person is trustworthy.
But what happens if you don't keep your word? The lesson is really clear about the consequences. A negative mark, just one missed payment, can stick to your record for 7 years. That is a long, long time for one mistake to follow you around and affect your future.
And right here, this is where the lesson pivots. It goes from just being about money and finance to a much, much deeper principle. Because as the curriculum shows, this isn't really about credit scores at all. It's about what holds everything together: trust. The lesson then connects this whole financial idea to a verse from the Bible, from the book of Luke. And this just elevates the entire concept. It says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. So managing a small loan isn't just about $50. It's a character test. If you can prove you're faithful with the small stuff, it shows you have the integrity to handle much bigger responsibilities later on. And what's so powerful about this is how a really simple, concrete idea, a $50 loan, is used to teach this huge, abstract concept: integrity. The lesson here is that your character isn't built in some big, heroic moment. It's built in all the small, everyday choices. How you handle $50 today says a lot about how you'll handle a mortgage, a business, or a position of power tomorrow. So,
Let's zoom back out for a second. This one lesson on credit reports, it's really just a small piece of a much bigger vision for what education could be. It's a vision that's focused on building a better future, one student at a time.
In this slide, it really captures their ultimate mission. The goal of this kind of education isn't just to make smart students. It's to form people whose knowledge is guided by wisdom and whose actions are shaped by morality. The aim is nothing less than to reshape the future by creating people who live lives of life and peace.
And that brings us to the final, really powerful question this whole thing leaves us with. What if the main goal of education wasn't just to be smart, but to be wise? What would our world even look like if that were the case? It's definitely something to think about.